I grew up in a house where talent was greatly appreciated. We were given the room, the space to express ourselves in whichever way we wanted. So we could sing, we could dance, we could act, basically pretend we're mother and father and make fun of them, and that would be fine. We were given the room to be ourselves, and that is something really very special. And during all that, we felt that, there was audience, and we had to perform. We had to do something for this great audience. Of course, I was told not to leave the red spot, and I promised not to. I'll stay as much as I can within this wonderful place. Listening to the great inspirational and motivating talks was really very inspiring. And I would like to say that in my house, we used to have, as I said, this great audience for us to be ourselves. So my father, who I think is a great man, used to come to the living room every day and be willing to listen to whichever music we are doing. So he would sit in his chair, very simple, very happy person, always in a happy mood, and he would say, "Play me a nice song." And of course, we knew the songs that made him happy. They were simple. They were, it doesn't take much to make dad happy. So we would go, when I was just a little girl, I asked my mother, what will I be? Will I be pretty? Will I be rich? Here's what she said to me. Que sera, sera. Whatever will be, will be. The future's not ours to see. Que sera, sera. And he would be ecstatically happy, To our dad, that was like the end of the world. My mother, on the other hand, would come from the kitchen where she'd be doing her thing but listening, and she'd say, no, I want you to play something for me. And it would usually be something sophisticated, something really different, something that we have to try to work with this mic as we do it. Anyways, so she would come and make sure that we're practicing something different. And she would say, you're doing excellent, you're doing it wrong, and give us, all the instructions, the feedback, and raise the bar. My grandfather believed that we understood his language, his passion. He would come to our house and sit with us and talk about all the music he liked. Now, he was a big fan of Abdul Wahab. He had a huge library for every song that Abdul Wahab ever sang. Those he sang in a party, those he sang in a private place, on the radio, off the radio. And for some reason, he used to think that we would understand his passion. We as kids. طبعاً to me, when he came and said, Muna, I want you to learn this song. Of course, that was bad news because it means to me that I'm gonna miss my favorite shows. Zingo Ringo, Tom and Jerry, Captain Majid. Very important programs for the average child in the 80s. But anyways, but because he would, have all this passion, and he thinks that we will understand, we would sit there, me and my sisters, and we would listen. And he would say something like, الهوى والشباب والأمل المنشود ضاعت جميعها من يدي Um, I'm honestly glad that you like it, because at the time, for a girl of 8 years old, that was tragic. You know, missing my shows was tragic. Anyways, I guess all these people, what they said to us at that age is that we are worth their time. We are worth their effort to try to explain to us their passions, and to try to explain to us something that we didn't know, which was great. And there was always the humor in our lives. My dad used to always put things in a way where we see things through humor from the other perspective. And I think humor gives us a very important tool. And this important tool, my mother is telling me, raise the mic. The mic, you know, the feedback is always coming, even on a TEDx event. Thank you, Mother. By the way, I forgot to mention that my mother has a beautiful rose garden that she takes care of herself, and it's wonderful and inspiring. So, what I was saying is that humor, there's this thing about humor, because it helps you see things from the different perspective. Just when you're thinking, things are going in one, like the line of thinking is going in one way, and suddenly it shifts, and the highlight is on something else. And that's how humor is important, to teach people to look at the problem from different perspective, if you're following. Now, the thing is, there was always, you know, somehow we would try to catch up to understand what's being said when there was humor. And I remember I was 8 when I was first introduced to the power of perspective. I thought I had secured a good case, and I waltzed in the room where my dad was, and I said, Baba, I want a new dress. And he said, what's wrong with your dress? And I said, well, all my friends have seen this dress. You know, I thought I secured it there. And he goes, well, change your friends. Like, honestly, I was confused. Like, how do I do that? I thought the dress was the problem, but suddenly, you know, the friends were the problem. You know how? And he always did these things. And there were the times, you know, the ride to school every day in the morning. So we'd be in the back enjoying Joe having, that's what we call Dad. His name is Yusuf, but we call him Joe. Now, we would be sitting in the back enjoying his conversation with his imaginary friend. He would be not driving, going, أنا عارف إيش بدي أسوي إيش بدي أخذ شو أنا عارف والله أنا and we would be giggling, you know, in the back about this phenomenon. What used to happen is that we used to be extra super quiet on the intersection, because we know if we're quiet and he goes right, we will end up at his office. But if he goes left, we'll go to school, and that was boring because we will be going to school on time. So we'd be extra super quiet, and then when he realizes, and he would go to his office, that we're still in the car, he'd say, you guys, why didn't you tell me that you're still in the car? And we go, you know. You know, the best part was that we would be late to school, and it's not our fault. You know, we had nothing to do with it. Now, he would say something funny, like, you know, this car, if you don't tell this car where to go, it'll end up right in front of the office. Because, you know, he's used to going to his office every day. And there's this, one of my favorite stories is when I used to bring him my grades. And again, this is all about seeing things from different perspectives. So he would put it in a way. I would come running, you know. بابا جبت 8 من 10. بقول لي قديش لينا جابت؟ حول الله يا ربي. لينا الله يسهل عليها is a brilliant person. مش ناقصنا نضل نتذكر لينا كل 5 دقايق. Honestly. لينا جابت 10 بقول له. هي البنات، هي الشاطرة. طبعا يا عم شكلها درست، اشوف انت ليش جايبه 8، ايش هالغلط اللي سويتيه؟ ففهمنا انه لينا موضوع. The next time Lena gets 7 out of 10, I would come running. بابا جبت 8 من 10. لينا جابت 7. شو بدي بالناس؟ أنا شو بدي بالناس؟ أنا شو بدي بالعالم؟ أنا بيهمني إنك جايبة 8 من 10 وشكلك مش داسة، إيش هالأغلاط اللي حطيتي لي إياها؟ I'm like, I'm trying to focus on the problem. But the problem, looking at it keeps changing the perspective. And there is the embarrassing moments also. Dad is different, but he doesn't mind that he's different. And this is really very important. Because when you really care about being the same and, not going or standing out of the crowd, it can be a problem. He didn't mind. When we came out of school, when he would come to pick us up, all the children would come to, be greeted by their parents. All their parents will be standing there normal, واقفين يا هيك يا هيك يا هيك. But my dad would be up in a tree. And I'm like, tell my sister, is that dad in the tree? She said, yes, just, smile and wave. Like, honestly. And I wouldn't mind if this tree would be, now I know why this is not working, by the way. Thank you, Zain. Anyways, and if it was an apple tree, I don't mind if it was توت, كرز, إشي بتاكل. قاعد معلق بالشجرة بنتوش فيها يابا انزل يابا شو بتسوي? And it will be turned into a learning opportunity, which he always used to do. And he'd say, بابا هاي شجرة خروب. قلت له خروب مش خروب خل نروح هلا. انزل يا زلمة خل نروح. And there were so many stories in which in my childhood, I believe I was blessed to see people who were positive, happy, in different ways, and they were always willing to make everyday events learning opportunities. My name is Awad. I'm thrilled to be here today at TEDxDeadSea to talk to you about my passion. It exists in the world of children, how they learn, how they teach, how they perceive the world, but most importantly, how we as parents, families, extended families, and the whole society really are responsible for them to fulfill their potentials. It's not only schools' responsibility for them to be creative, I think. It all starts at home, where they have the right environment to be good creative people. Now, I am also a mother of 3. My eldest is Asser, who's 16, and he's here. Then Rashid, who's 13, and he's also here. And Dania, who wasn't able to come, and she's 8. Thank you. Now, to them and to all my students, I am grateful for all the training, all the patience and guidance that they gave me to be the educator that I am today. I work with parents and the youth to help them overcome the challenges that they have. So these workshops help me to understand more about this very difficult job. Now, I think the problem is with us parents is that for every job really in the world, we get education. We get some sort of training, experience, don't we? How many parents do we have in this room? Okay, so I see some hands up. Now, how many of you went to university to study about parenting? How many of you went, willingly because it is what excellent, well done. I hope that it helped because, it helps a lot when you know what you're doing. For all the jobs that we have or we prepare ourselves to, we normally get some sort of training, education, But for the most important job, in my eyes, we get nothing. We just get thrown at deep end. And the parents, you know, our parents, when we hold the bundle of joy leaving the hospital, they stand in the back, you know, waving, saying the day has finally come. You know, you will get a taste of it all. And then, for some reason, when we become parents, we instantaneously, if that's a word, we become these knowledgeable people, you know. We know best. We're right or wrong, black or white people, you know. We know best. Yani, he's our child. How can we not know what's best for this child? But why do we do that? Did we educate ourselves about the different phases, different developmental stages for these children? And yet we seem to think that we are right most of the time. We fail to see things from their perspective. I remember, and I'm going to share a few stories with you. I remember my son was maybe 10, Asser, the eldest. When he came to me, we were having a conversation. You know, look at me now, I'm the knowledgeable person, I'm the expert. And we were having a conversation, analyzing life. And I felt really good about myself in that conversation. And then he said, Mama, you notice something, whenever we have a conversation, you always have to win me. And I said, what do you mean? He said, you always say something that makes me look less intelligent than you. And I'm like, really? Now, do I do that? Because I didn't want to do that, really. But what happens is that we want them to think that we know everything. This is how we treat kids, don't we? Do you look at your 3-year-old, any of you, those of you who are parents, and say, he will teach me something I don't know? Do we do that? Well, those who do have the right balance, because if it wasn't for these little trainers, we wouldn't be these, you know, smarter people in this field. I try to apply a lot of my work in my daily life so that I don't end up preaching, you know, and being this professional in my workshops, and then when I come back home, I take off all the clothes of etiquette and professionalism, and, you know, بتكتكهم على الباب وبتركهم, and I have a different face inside my house. I try not to do that. I try as much as I can to apply positive parenting tools, like I call them, inside the house. So I'm positive, I'm happy, I try to listen, I try to share my passion with them. So my 8-year-old, I tell her a lot about my workshops. And I once explained to her that I need to take off the earrings, it seems. Yes, finally she gets it. Yes, they've been trying to hint it, trying to tell it. Anyway, so what I do is tell Dania that, you know, Mama, things, you know, it's a choice. Life is a choice. You choose to be happy or you choose to be sad. And she said, how is that? I said, well, if your friend comes to you and she says, you're a bad person, you can go, oh, I'm a bad person. She thinks I'm a bad person, so now I have to think I'm a bad person. And that's bad. Or you can say, she comes to you, of course, she said, you are a bad person. You can say, well, you seem to think that I'm a bad person. I'm sorry that you think I'm a bad person. I don't think I'm a bad person. And I'll try to do things in a way where you don't think I'm a bad person in the future. You don't have to become upset if people try to upset you. It's a choice. So I try to explain things to her, especially when she comes home with issues. And a lot of times we go, Mama بيكرهوني ما بيحبوني بالمدرسة. Well, okay, let's see, مين اللي بيكرهك؟ شو القصة؟ شو في؟ تركوني بالساحة وراحوا يلعبوا مع غيري. بقول okay, fine. You know, how are you going to deal with it? And I try to listen with respect. You know, we have to have a lot of respect dealing with children, because this is how we tell them, you know, we can learn from you, and that's how you can learn from us. If they don't sense respect, they won't learn. And with Dania, having had this nice conversation with her, I heard her once talk to her brother, the 13-year-old. He's not going to like this now. And he was upset over something that happened on Facebook. Somebody forgot to chat with him or chatted more than he should with him or whatever. And then Daniel stops and said, well, Rashid, you know what? Life is a choice. So it is really important, if we want kids to be, we have to show them this face, the passionate face, the successful face. We cannot take off the clothes like we do, you know. We take off all the clothes of professionalism, of kindness and etiquette, and we go and throw ourselves on the island of self-pity, which is the couch, you know. تركوني لحالي تعبان طول نهاري بشتغل please مشان الله سيبوني. You know, we throw ourselves on that, and that's just, you know, sometimes, and some of us. I don't like to generalize. Now, I like to also share with you a few other stories. I think that Asr was maybe 8 when he came to me with a theory. And he said, Mama, you know what? Life is about a balance. And I'm like, great, wonderful, let's hear it. And he goes, you know, you have to balance your study life and your fun life. I was like, great, maybe now we can start studying, you know, finally. And he would say, of course, he didn't hear that part. And he goes, you know what? School is not going to do it for me. Oh my God, here it comes. If I don't work on having a good fun life at school, I'm like, Asad, how much homework do you have? And the thing is, I learned that we need to listen more to the children and learn from the way they see life. I think he has a point where, okay, I think to wrap up, because we can and we care, we should teach our kids the language of creativity. And we do that, by the way, we do that by turning everyday events into learning opportunities. We do that by being flexible, by showing them the other perspective of things. Because we care and because we can. Don't you agree? Inshallah. Now, before I leave the stage, I just want to say that this lovely bouquet of flowers is for my mother and father, who are also here attending. Thank you for your kind attention.